In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the sum function in Excel. So throw out your calculator because you're not going to need it again after today. To support the videos I'm going to release in the next few weeks, I've made a new sample file. So let's click on sum and that will take us to the tutorial. I've added a series of questions on this tab and we're going to use Excel's sum function to solve most of those and give us some answers. For others though, Excel can pretty much replace any of the normal functions of a calculator. So I'm going to start by just showing you how it does that in its basic form. I've added this yellow box on here and we're just going to throw some calculations in to show you how Excel handles the most basic functions of a calculator. In any case where you want to add some data that isn't just raw data, so if for example I wanted to type dog in here, I would just type dog. If we want to tell Excel that we're going to do some form of calculation or manipulation, we need to start everything with an equals. And then we could do something like 6 plus 4 and hit the enter key and it will give us a value of 10. If we wanted to change that and use the minus symbol instead, so replace the plus with a minus, 6 minus 4, and it gives us 2. Those are pretty simple. When we go on to divide, we've got to remember that there isn't a divide key on the keyboard. So instead we need to use the forward slash. So just replace this minus with a forward slash. 6 divided by 4 gives us 1.5. If we then wanted to do multiplication, it is the star key on your keyboard, and that is in normal keyboard shift and 8. So if we just replace that forward slash now with star, we get 6 times 4 and we get the value 24. Question 1 asks, how long would it take me to watch Black Panther and Deadpool? I'm going to put the answer in this box here. So I need to start with an equals, as I said before, and what I could just do is type 135, which is the duration in minutes for Black Panther, then the plus sign, and then Deadpool is 119. So I add that in, hit enter, and I get my value there, 254. But there's a much better way. If instead of using 135, as you can see in the formula bar up here, if I highlight over that and then just point at the cell that holds it, so in this case it's E4, hit enter, it will just take whatever value is in that cell and use that as part of the calculation. So let's replace the other one, so the 119. So we're going to overtype that, just delete that, and click on E8, and that is the value which holds the duration in minutes for Deadpool 2. I click enter, and now I've got the same value, 254. It's added those two cell references together. Whatever they contain at the time is the calculation that will be done on those cells. If I were to change it for Deadpool, for example, to 300, you'll notice how the value in the calculated cell increases automatically. And that really is starting to show you the power in Excel. I've deleted the value out of the answer box for question 1 because I'm going to show you a different way of achieving it using the sum function. Now, there's different ways that you can put functions into cells in Excel. You can just type, or you can use this sort of menu at the top here. Now, lots of people when they start out will use the menu. I'm going to advise against that for a number of reasons. One, once you get used to actually using and typing the formulas, it's a much quicker and convenient way of doing it. Also, when you use the menu bar, Excel will try and preempt what it is you're trying to do. And as things get more complicated, it will start to get that wrong more often. So typing it is the way I'm going to show you today. Have a go though with the menu bar and see how you get on. So to start the sum function, we need to click into the cell, type equals sum, and then an open bracket. What Excel will do on all formulas and functions is give you this little hint bar below, which tells you what it's expecting from you. So at the moment it wants number 1, and that's why it's highlighted it in a darker sort of black than the rest of the statement. Number 1, we're going to put Black Panther. The cell reference to it, E4. We're then going to hit a comma because that's what it says it wants. And you can see now that it's moved along and told us that it wants number 2. So we just pick the next number that we want. If we wanted a third number, we hit comma again, and you see it's moved along to number 3, and we could put a different number in. But in this case, we don't want that, so let's delete that cell reference and the comma. To close any statement or formula, you just close it with the closing bracket. Hit enter, and it will then give us that value. Question 2 asks us how much longer is A Star Is Born than Venom? So if we click into the answer box, type equals, and then we're just going to use the simple, we don't need sum for this, just the calculation in Excel. So we're going to click A Star Is Born because that's the longest of the two movies, then the minus, and then onto Venom, and then hit enter, and that will give us the value of 23. So it's 23 minutes longer A Star Is Born than Venom. Question 3. What is the total gross revenue of all movies in the dataset? Now, I've not put an answer box here because the logical place to put the answer for this is at the bottom of the gross in $1 million column. So I've put a little yellow box here for us to do it. And this is another example of how you can use sum. If we do equals sum again, and then open brackets, this time we're going to click on the top value, and then we're going to scroll all the way down, and you'll see that Excel has put a colon between the top cell reference, F4, and the bottom cell reference, F13. The colon is the separator, which says it's all part of the same range. If I now put a closing bracket there, hit enter, it will total that whole column. That's much quicker, as you can imagine, than adding each one individually in a formula or on a calculator. If you're enjoying my channel, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button on this video and subscribe. That helps YouTube know that my videos are adding value in the community. Question 4. What is the variance in gross revenue between each movie? I've not put an answer box in because there's not just one answer. We actually want an answer for each movie, starting from the second one down, to see how much less in gross revenue it had than Black Panther. So if in here we type equals, and then we pick the gross in $1 million, which is $700 million for Black Panther, then hit a minus key, onto Avengers Infinity War, F4 minus F5, hit enter. Now that in itself is not that special, but what we can do now is click back into the cell, hover over to the right hand bottom corner, and then it will turn into a black plus. If we click and drag that down, it will repeat that formula all the way down the column. Better than that though, it's actually understood that we want a different formula on each row, and it's changed the references and parameters in those formulas to account for that. So in the top one, we've got F4 minus F5. In the next one down, we've got F5 minus F6. That's pretty clever what Excel's done there. Just before we do question 5, I wanted to put it out there that I'm really keen to hear your feedback in the comments. Anything you're struggling with, anything that you want to see more of, let me know and I'll try and respond to every comment that I get on this video. Question 5, how can we scale up the use of this tool? Well, that answer is huge and infinite in terms of options. I'm going to show you a few here. Let me show you something first though. If I type equals in here, I'm going to then click on our sample data tab and click something like universal pictures, and you can see it's put the cell reference in I15, but it's also used apostrophes to show us that sample data is a separate tab to the one we're on. So we can actually use our formulas across different worksheets. If I now hit enter, you'll see that it's put universal pictures in here. If I click into that cell, we can see in the formula bar at the top the reference to that other sheet and to that other cell. I've deleted the answer again because I'm going to show you another way that we can expand that and use that separate sheet option. So this time if we type out equals sum, and then we go into sample data, click on the top one in gross in $1 million, and then start scrolling down, you can see that our range at the top, K4 to K31, with the colon separator, is starting to increase as I roll down this column. Now this is a pretty long column, and at the bottom of it, we're going to see that some of the values aren't populated. Now Excel will use a blank cell as a 0 in terms of a simple sum formula, so we can actually include all of the blank rows as well, which means if we then populate them later, the result of those will go into the final sum on our front sheet. So when I get to the bottom there, I'm going to hit enter. Now on this occasion, I'm not going to put the closing bracket in, and Excel will actually work that out and correct it for us. Hit enter, and there you go. We've got the total value of all the gross revenue for all of the movies in our data set right back to 1976. So I hinted that it could take quite a long time if you had loads of rows in your data set to scroll all the way down. So I'm going to show you a quicker way of achieving that. We go back into here, equals sum, open brackets, go into sample data, pick the top value in here, and let go of your mouse button. Now hold Control and Shift on your keyboard, hit the down key, and it will take you to the bottom of the populated range. If we hit down again, I'm still holding Control and Shift. I get to the bottom of the table. If I hit down again, I go to the bottom of the full Excel worksheet. So the bottom row in all Excel worksheets is 1048576. I'm still holding Control and Shift. If I hit up, I get to the bottom of the table again. If I hit up again, I get to the bottom of the populated range. We obviously want the full table. So I now let go of Control and Shift, hit enter, and that puts that in. Obviously it took a lot longer because I was explaining along the way. Trust me, that is a much, much quicker way than scrolling all the way down a column.